Good evening, Booktopians. First, I'd like to start off tonight by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past and present. And I also extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people watching today. And I now have the distinct pleasure of introducing you to landscape architect, environmental educator, television presenter, and now author of Costa's World, Costa Georgiadis. Welcome to Booktopia.
Mark, lovely to see you. That's the first time anyone's ever called me an author. So that's official then. If you've said it, I will take that as the official passing on of my authority. My authorship.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually hand the reins over to Costa, and
It's dangerous.
You're going to talk to the audience for the next half hour or so, and we'll be talking. We'll be taking comments and questions. So if you have any questions, pop them in the comment boxes below, and Costa will do his best to get to as many of them as he can through the time that we have. And before I go, just a quick reminder that you can order a copy of Costa's World at booktopia.com.au. And at the time of this recording, we do have some signed copies still available in stock. So getting quick if you want to grab one. So over to you, Costa.
Thanks, Mark. And speaking of those signed copies, yes, I put my shoulder and elbow and body into those over the last there was 2 batches. You'd be happy to know. So I think I've signed somewhere over 800 books, and nice process. I enjoyed signing each one, and I kind of took the approach that if I was somewhere and we could have been doing it together, and you were there and this talk was face to face, I would have written something relative to you. So I just wrote something relative to, the book and me and what I'm doing, and included that on each page. Now, someone out there, 3 lucky people out there, will actually get special collector's editions, and they're in the boxes. I think there was about 90 boxes or 80 boxes, and out of all of those books, there was 2 in the first batch and 1 in the second batch that got covered back to front, and so I turned them into collector's items. And I hope that any of you that receive your books, put a hashtag Costa's World post up on Insta or wherever you can, and they'll come through, and I can share those photos on my socials, because I'd love to see people holding it. One of the interesting things about this period of time is that, I've had 1 copy and that's been it, and I haven't really been able to share it with anyone. I showed it to the crew, and they had a look at it and had a feel of the book when I showed them. But outside of that, I've only been able to show it to people online and sort of say, yeah, have a look, see what it. But until you kind of get it and have a feel of it, you won't fully appreciate the incredible effort that those who have worked on it have done. And it would be, well, as I get started, I firstly want to acknowledge that I'm on Gadigal and Bidigal land of the Eora, and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. And effectively this book is about land and us getting closer and more understanding of the landscapes where we live. And I'll pick a little point out in a minute and just share that concept that I talk about. But where was I? Cup of tea. It's been a full-on day today with television and radio and lots of media interviews. So I've kind of got to this one, and it's like, wow, this is kind of like the official one for Booktopia. But yeah, back to where I was, signing all the books. It's been a great process, and I look forward to the time when I'll be able to be out at community events and so on, and be able to meet people and sign books in person. But you know, the first thing I want to talk about is the people behind the scenes. Well, they're not so much behind the scenes, because the graphics and the graphic design of the book, I want to make a big call out to Lisa Reedy, graphic designer, who had the reins, and she did such a fantastic job in terms of the layouts and how it sort of moves between pictures, and then maybe, you know, you've got pull out quotes on the side, and then a graphic, and then a pull out quote. You can see on this side here. I mean, these are really, you know, critical to the layout and the flow when there's pull out boxes and things, and that work, and picking the photographs and outlining, or you know, these consistent graphics that tie in the chapters, and all of Lisa's work tied in beautifully with Brenna Quinlan. Now, some of you may know Brenna. She's an incredible illustrator, and she's responsible for the washes, these color washes here that then Lisa took throughout the book, like this, to give it the feel. Brenna's fonts, I'm fortunate enough that Brenna's fonts are all through the book, and they're fantastic. They just make it really homely, and you can look at a page and say, oh yeah, I'm just going to read this bit, and it's so readable, and the colors on where there's a full page background color, like, and then Brenna's illustrations. At this point, I was talking about the fact that we're only camping on this earth. We don't own it. We don't possess it. We don't. Boundaries on allotments are just boundaries, and I suppose that was one of the main approaches I was taking to get people connected to how the land works, was to jump on there and look at the land where you live without seeing the roads and the streets. See it as a landscape. And so that was the idea. I said, you know, when you go out and you camp, you can only take what you need, and you take it out and you take it in. And it was part of, and it was under the topic of how to be a happy camper. And whichever thread in the book I was writing about, you know, biodiversity celebrates the differences, and, you know, Brenna puts together an image like that because I was talking about the globe, and she puts together an image like that of I'm trying to work out how this camera works in reverse. You know, and they capture moments. It really captures the feel for the, you know, there I was talking about the geography of life, and I'm looking out over that landscape, and yeah, I want to mention that ultimately a big part of the book is that visual connection between the photos. All these photos that you see, most of them are my photos, and the reason they're my photos and could come off my phone is because they're in this sort of sketchbook style, scrapbook style, and not too big, so that they didn't need to be blown up like a big coffee table book. And as a result, I could use all these photos, and when you mix them in there, they're relative to me and the world that I'm talking about throughout the book. Now, we've got a couple of questions come in. Hi, Costa. Any plans for more books in the future, or an autobiography? Oh, wow. Look, I suppose reaching this line for some people, that's massive, and anyone that knows me knows that it's been lurking away in the background for a long time. immediately, I suppose my first thought immediately would be I'd love to do a children's book, but I have to let that incubate and marinate, and I got this. This is massive. This needs to have a full launch and have a full life, and then I'll think about it. So yeah, good question, Nicola. Lilia Sward, you're also very connected to family and community. Does the book touch on how you got there? The supportive family, like Gran's embroidered tablecloth. Oh yeah, you remembered that. Here it is. There's the tablecloth. Just so you know that it wasn't something that just got put out for Julia Zamiro's story on me. That's there every day, and I couldn't think of a better way to wake up. Yeah, I talk about community. I talk about why community is important, and most of all, I talk about how to connect and engage and take on community projects. So there's a 3 cheers for the community. That's, I think, chapter where is it? Building. Yeah, chapter 3. Chapter 3. There it is. 3 cheers. 3 cheers for community. So yes, Lilia, it's there. Carol Marshall, I loved one time how you responded, the more you know, the more you don't know, and the more you want to know. I find that quite profound. Did you put it in the book? Wow. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure. You got me there. It's an interesting time for me, because I'm on the other side of the fence, being the person that has written the book, because normally I'm involved with helping promote books and writing forewords for books. I had the privilege of writing a foreword for David Holmgren's Retro Suburbia. I've written forewords for Adam Grubbs and his partner's book. Oh no, it's not his partner. Anyway, I've written foreword for that book. Lots of books and lots of quotes for different books. So yeah, it's a different feeling being on this side for the first time, particularly because people have wanted me to do it, but I've been out doing what I've now written about. So I think the timing is good. If I'd written this book 10 years ago, it wouldn't be the same book that it is today, and I'm happy about that. I'm happy that I've waited. Costa, any plans on pushing our Greek culture? Oh, look, I think that's pretty much innate in everything that I do and everything that I talk about. I'm consistently talking about my Yayam Papu and what that means, and how that ties into the life and times that I live today. And that makes it particularly special, because the more I learn about our country, the more I learn about our First Nations culture, the more I see these incredible connections. When I spend time with elders, whether that's out in Alice, because I'm out in Alice a lot, whether that's up in Kakadu, or whether it's in the Daintree, in the communities up there, or anywhere for that matter, I just find incredible cross-cultural connections between, the role that our elders have played in our life and the role that Indigenous elders play in community there. I just see an incredible crossover, and it's wonderful to learn and feel those connections. So I bet the biggest chapter is dedicated to compost. Yeah, look, I suppose the interesting thing is, who was that? Carol. The thing I wanted to do with the book was I didn't set out to try and write a comprehensive, this is everything about gardening, because there are very good gardening manuals out there. There's incredible books. I mean, I think about people like Annette McFarlane. She's got a series of fantastic books that I recommend people wanting to get into it to get into. And then, my good friend Angus Stewart, his books, and Sophie Thompson's books, and all of these people that are writing, Thrifty Gardener, Millie's work. is really practical. Sophie's work is so spot on, and I talk about and share those books. And I suppose what I wanted from my book was to say, I get around, I see community, I see people doing things. I wanted to sort of say, this is why I love gardening. This is what really inspires me about pollinators or sustainability or compost or community. This is the science behind it that inspires me, and then this is the action that you can take. So the threads behind the chapter and the arc, the story arc behind the whole book is about heart, head. So heart of me, why I love it. The head, this is the science, and the hands, this is what you can go and do. And I really wanted that to be the case. I wanted people to be able to go away and do some things, find groups, be it Land Care or Junior Land Care or Crop Swap Australia or Fair Food Forager, or maybe it's Share Waste, or it could be bush heritage for people getting into bush repair. It could be bush regenerators, outdoor ABAT, which I'm involved with, Australian Association of Bush Adventure Therapy. All of these different groups that are doing, Gardens for Wildlife, all of these things, BirdLife Australia getting involved with the Big Aussie Bird Count or Pollinator Week and all these things, because then when you actually have an activity to do, that action combines the science and then brings it into here. It brings it into the heart. So that's kind of the essence of what I've headed for. Children's book, Tasha Marathona, a children's book is a great idea. Yeah, I've got lots of thoughts there, and I'm working with children all the time, and I feel like that's something that will definitely happen at some point. Would I do a program in Greece? I'd love to do a program in Greece. That would be fantastic. Now let me see. So Chris Gonzalez ordered the book months ago, and hopefully you'll be, oh, here we go. So excited for it to finally come out. Hopefully you'll be somewhere nearby in the next year where I can get you to sign it. Yeah, definitely. Where are you from, Chris? Let me know. What else have we got? What's written on my t-shirt? Well, this was actually a t-shirt made by Brenner. The Brenner who I was talking about, who illustrated the book. It's called Compost Problems, Permaculture. Compost Problems, Grow Solutions. And this was for Permaculture Australia. Let's and Lilia, Let's. That's the Let's and community exchange groups are fantastic, and looking at the viability of alternative housing systems and all these things. Of course I couldn't write everything, even though the book is 320 pages long, which is a very generous amount over what was originally planned, because the more, and this goes back to the comment that Carol said, the more I wrote, and then the more I saw a chapter, the more I thought, oh, well, I've got to put that in, and hang on, but this is missing, and then I've got to put something about bats and microbats, and then hang on, spiders have got to go in there too, and all of these things, and I hope the fact that these things are in there helps to move perspective and break down barriers and fix perceptions around things like spiders and insects and how important they are. What else? Let me see. Here we go. Thanks, Mark's put some more questions here. What's my own garden like? Look, I said this in response to an online article that was written that, you know, how can he be going around the country when his garden looks like such a mess? And I said one of the most powerful things about connecting to nature and becoming more understanding of the way ecosystems work is, in due course, a garden starts to look like its owner. So in that sense, actually, it's got to be dark. I'll just put the light on. So garden starts to look like its owner. So join those dots. It's a pretty wild and biodiverse place. But if you've got frogs in your garden, if you've got birds visiting your garden, if there's dragonflies and all sorts of wildlife coming, you know that it's a safe place, and it's a safe place because of that habitat. So yeah, it's great. I love it. I love it. I love it how it is. I love how it's going, and I've got plenty more to do for it. Central Coast. Yeah, good on you, Mark. Sorry, not Mark, Chris. Chris. Who inspires me the most? Sophie. Who inspires me the most when it comes to gardening? I suppose what inspires me the most is nature, because the more I look at nature, the more I see how nature operates. Things, simple things where we can challenge our human way, challenge our adult way of saying, we need to clean the garden, we need to prune it, we need to remove all the dead leaves and fronds and branches, and yet the dead and dying parts are actually feeding the next growth. They're providing the habitat for the insects. Like in my nature pond, I left the reeds up so that they provide, and the fallen leaves, I left them there because that provides cover for the frogs and other small invertebrates that are in the water. Whereas if we do this anal sort of, but we've got to clean it and get rid of the dead things when we prune the dead branches. Like, for example, there's a wonderful photo in the book here. Now, let's see whether I could just flick and land on the page. That would be interesting. Where I left my parsley heads, I left my parsley to go to seed. And then once it had gone to seed, I still left it there. And the seed heads had fallen down, and it now sows the nature strip. But while it was just there as a dying piece of parsley branch, a whole lot of cluster bees came. I've never had cluster bees, but they came and used that as architecture for them. So the architecture of death was providing a space for life. And that's what inspires me. Everywhere I look, I'm learning more about how nature works. And we don't know everything. And sometimes we've got to get out of the way and stop putting our sanitized ideas of human frame around things to say, yeah, that's how it should be, when technically we're missing something, and then wondering why the insects aren't coming because they don't have a home. So yeah, great question, Sophie. Would love to have more greenery in my life, but I rent an apartment and have a bit of a black thumb. Any tips? Okay. First of all, we definitely have to make sure we carry no baggage into the garden. Sam Joyce, you don't have a black thumb. You just need an opportunity to have another go. You will kill things. You will have dead foliage on your hands and in your hands. And if you speak to Sophie, if you speak to Jerry, if you speak to Tino, Josh, any gardener worth a pinch, if anyone tells you they haven't killed anything, walk away, because that's how you work things out. You're either not pushing yourself hard enough and trying other things, or you just can't. I kill things because life happens. So just give it another go. Keep in touch. Send through any questions. You can touch base with me over my socials. Send me a picture of your space and I can have a look at it and say, yeah, okay, you might be facing west. You have some challenges, but you'll be able to look here in the book and go through some of these things and explain to yourself, where do I live? Do I live at the top of the hill? Do I get sea breeze? Am I by the coast, or am I by a lake? Am I in a windy spot? Am I in a dry spot? Which way does it face? Is it south or north? Is it morning sun or afternoon sun, the hot afternoon sun? And once you start to do your site assessment with your site assessment goggles on, you'll start to see your street differently, because you'll go, oh, that's the cold side of the street. That's the hot side. This is where the winds come from, all of those things. And as you piece that together, you will inadvertently become more expert in your little plot. And then you won't make the mistakes that make you think you've got a black thumb. So yeah, go for it. Just go again. Just go again. What do we got here? Do you have Costa gnomes in your garden? I do have a couple of Costa gnomes, and there's a Costa gnome that's in the making, and it has been for a long time, much like the book. So like anything, it will be there. And I'm sure there's a couple of people that know me that have heard me say that before, but there you go. 10 years of talking about that, and it's here today. That's hilarious. Do you have gnomes? Yes, I do have a couple. Mandy Walker, what's your favorite plant that can propagate easily? Favorite plant that can propagate easily? Something like rosemary. That's a real simple one. Salvias are really quite easy to grow on. But yeah, give rosemary a go, because you can go anywhere to someone's plant that you know, take some cuttings, look up the little story, the babushka gardens, that's on the Gardening Australia website, and you just get a pot, a terracotta pot, block the hole, put it inside another terracotta pot one size up. You'll have a narrow section around the outside. Put some seed raising mix in there, take your cuttings, put them in there, and then water the pot in the middle, and that will release the water slowly between the space. It's a really great way to propagate. Put a little plastic bag over the top with a coat hanger to make it incubate and be like a little glass house, and you'll be sweet. Okay, who have we got here? Karen Sanchez, what aspect of gardening brings you the most joy? Hello, Karen. Hello, guys. Nice to see you, if you're all here. The most joy, I think, when you do something like, for example, those cluster bees coming. It doesn't matter if you're Kerry Packer or Rupert Murdoch or any other billionaire in the world, you can't make them come. You have to do what they need. You can't just buy them. You can't say, oh, I want to go and buy some cluster bees. There's no outlet for them. They're out in nature. And anything that brings nature in, like the idea that we can help regenerate habitat for pygmy possums and for other small marsupials. Our country, our continent was filled with incredible marsupials that we've allowed invasive species to destroy. And there's good people out there at the moment doing really good things, really amazing things to help regenerate our national wildlife. So that's probably what brings me the most joy, when you can provide some habitat and the birds come, provide some habitat and the insects come, or the lizards, or whatever it may be. That brings me great joy, Karen. What are the 5 most important plants or animals for any garden? I suppose when you're starting off in gardening, you know, the more I look at what we need as far as suburbs and cities and towns, and as a continent, what we need are corridors. We need to help reconnect the tapestry, which has been carved up in a very short period of time. We're only talking 200 years. If we can start to reconnect the tapestry through street gardens and connect the street to the next street, to then the corridor, the bushland corridor that then connects to the gardens and the botanic gardens, and then it makes it to the creek, and that creek then connects to 5 other gullies and valleys, which then goes out and connects to 3 more suburbs. And if we can do that infill in our gardens and in our streets, then the hopscotch of life can take place and wildlife can hopscotch. And then what we need to, if you want to think broader to the bigger picture, we also need to build that tapestry, not just linear across the landscape, but also vertically, so that when things change and temperatures are unpredictable, wildlife can move from hot to cold and cold to hot to adapt and adjust. So yeah, there's plenty of things we can do. And I suppose the main message that I wanted with the book was to be able to say, the little things you do are critical, because when thousands of us do little things, we then become the voice and the momentum to change the big things. We need to have our eye on the big picture. We need to understand that there is a real requirement for us to adapt the way we live. But for me, in these pages, I think it's critical to be able to present something where people feel comfortable and safe to go in and go, right, well, I discover my climate zone. How well do I know the climate of my neighborhood? Where's my house located? Storing water and energy, understanding heat and what suburbs can do for heat. So that, you know, these are big picture climate change challenges, but I'm not hiding that, not at all. I'm actually putting this whole story together in the knowledge that everything on every page contributes to a change and a big picture change. And when we get the heart of people connected, because they understand the science and now they're acting, then when the heart's connected, they will fight for it. And they won't see it as just another story or just, oh, I can't do anything. It's like, no, I've met a pygmy possum. I want to understand habitat and bring those back, because I can't travel the world to see them because they're only here. So you know, that's part of the motivation, that all of these things are going on, and the most lo-fi immediate way that we can take action is by growing some stuff, and then growing the connections with your neighbors, and that's where the flow-on effect happens, because what you'll find is once you start growing, you'll start to grow connections with people, and you do something on your nature strip, you're going to affect your neighborhood. And when we start to change the vocabulary a little bit and talk about a naturehood rather than just a neighborhood, then the neighbors and nature are one and the same. So it's pretty exciting to look at it in these terms, where we can. Oh, there's Emanuela. Yeah, Emanuela's here. Lovely to see you. And here's a person, and I make mention of her in the book. Farm It Forward. That's a brilliant example of hands, because the heart was like, I want to do something. How can we grow more food locally? How can we provide advantage, eliminate disadvantage around food and food security? Well, let's grow food locally so it's accessible and seasonal. Where can we do it? We don't have the money for the land. Well, let's go to people's backyards and grow food in their backyards. And then they get some of the food, and we take the rest of the food to the co-op. And that was Farm It Forward. So that was the science. Local food. Heart is the challenge. This is what we want to do. The head was, this is the science. There is land everywhere. How do we access it? Through connection and community. And then the hands was, let's train young people to become the farmers, to look after that land. And then they take those skills home and start growing at home as well. So, you know, it's wonderful to have you here, Emanuela, because Manu's work is exactly is exactly what this is about. It's about empowering community, and sometimes we don't fully appreciate what's around us until we put those nature goggles on and see that there is more than enough land to feed more than enough people if we set up these structures and these systems. And yeah, oh, that's so nice. Do I need to buy worms for it? I set up. Mark, you're back. I'm reading through more.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, the last one, Ida. I started compost recently. Do I need to buy worms for it? And how often do I need to turn the vegetation over? Ida, a worm farm will need some worms, but find someone with a worm farm. They can give you a takeaway container full. Of course, you can buy them as well. If you just look up worms for sale, you'll find them in your area. But go down the local community garden, they'll give you a handful, and that's all you need for your little worm farm. And then away you go. You don't have to turn it. The worms will do all the turning, and then follow on from there. But drop me a direct message, send me some pictures of how it's going, and I can advise you from where I am.
Well, I'm sorry to bust
hang
in.
on.
I've gone over time.
My earbuds fell out
Okay.
because I was just bantering the whole time.
All good. Yeah, I was just going to say sorry to burst in, but we are out of time. We're actually over time, and we really appreciate all of the time that you've given us and the answers. And it's been very inspiring. And I think I will upgrade the plants on my desk from dead to living.
Mark, I'm coming over. I'm coming over with the defibrillator, and we'll put a bit of heart charge in there and see what we can do for it.
Yeah, I think we need it. But look, Costa, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, and just some amazing comments coming through. A lot of people congratulating you on the book. A lot of demand for these Costa gnomes by the look of it as well, and people already wanting another book from you. So.
Oh my God! As I fumble over the line, they go, "Get up! You got to run the 500 now."
Yeah, welcome to the world of being an author. That's every time we do these, that's what people want. What's the next book?
Oh, that's hilarious! Thanks, everyone. That's so nice. I appreciate the wishes and the support. And oh, look, there's Paulie. G'day, Paulie. Thanks for joining in. And thanks, everyone. I don't know if is this going anywhere, or is this just a live and that's it?
So this is live on Facebook, and then it's going to live on our Facebook page and on our YouTube page, so people can come and watch it after the live as well.
Excellent. So I can respond. So if there's any questions there that I didn't answer or get to, don't worry, everyone. I'll jump on and I'll answer the questions on Facebook.
Thanks for that, Costa. That's awesome. And as this is live, we do have signed copies still available at booktopia.com.au of Costa as well. So if you jump on now and place an order, you can secure one. But if you are watching this after the fact, just check our website. If we do have signed copies still in stock, it will be marked on the product page that signed copies are available. But I'm sure they're going to go fast. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Costa, for your time. And never
Thanks,
stop.
Mark. Thanks, everyone. See you later.